What happens when two powerhouse women clash over a wound that never truly healed? The music industry was left reeling when country legend Reba McEntire stormed off the Jennifer Hudson Show in front of a stunned live studio audience. What began as a routine promotional interview quickly spiraled into one of the most explosive talk show moments in recent memory. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments whose side you're on, because trust me, you'll want to choose. After hearing this story, it started innocently enough. Reba, the undisputed queen of country, was set to promote her upcoming album and tour. The crowd roared as Jennifer, radiant in emerald green, welcomed her with warmth and admiration. For a moment, it was all smiles, two icons, two worlds colliding on one stage. But then Jennifer shifted gears. Reba, you've seen this industry evolve. What are your thoughts on crossover artists, especially those of us who've moved between genres? The room tensed. Reba's polite smile faltered. Well, she said carefully, I've always believed talent is talent. Good music speaks for itself. Jennifer leaned in, her tone sharpening. Interesting. Because I remember about 15 years ago, you had stronger opinions. You said some artists were just riding the wave without understanding country music's heart. That was right around the time I was releasing my country tracks. The audience went silent. Reba's jaw tightened. Jennifer, I think you're taking old comments out of context. I never singled out anyone. Maybe not by name, Jennifer shot back, but the timing spoke volumes. Suddenly, interviews were popping up where you questioned the integrity of artists crossing into country right when my songs were climbing the charts. Reba flushed, her Oklahoma drawl cutting sharper now. I wasn't talking about you. This isn't what I came here to discuss. I think it's exactly what we should discuss, Jennifer countered, folding her arms. Because those offhand comments had consequences. Do you know what it felt like to hear someone I admired dismiss my work as inauthentic? You didn't need to say my name. Everyone knew who you meant. The tension was unbearable. Reba's chairs screeched against the floor as she stood. I will not sit here and be accused of sabotaging your career. That's unfair. Jennifer's voice was firm, unyielding. Sit back down, Reba. We're not finished. Reba's eyes blazed. Actually, Jennifer, we are. And with that, she turned and walked off set, leaving Jennifer staring straight into the cameras as the audience gasped. I came here as a professional courtesy, Reba snapped, her voice cutting through the charged silence. To promote my work, to have a pleasant conversation. I didn't come here to be ambushed with decade-old grudges you've apparently been nursing all this time. The studio audience froze, eyes darting between the two women. The polished comfort of daytime TV was gone. What remained was raw, unfiltered confrontation, ambushed. Jennifer let out a bitter laugh. Reba, this isn't an ambush. This is accountability. Do you have any idea what it's like to pour your heart into music working with the best Nashville has to offer, only to have someone like you question whether I even belong? Someone like me? Reba's voice rose, sharp and dangerous. And what exactly is that supposed to mean? Someone who's been handed the keys to the kingdom, Jennifer shot back. Someone who's never had to prove she belonged in country music because she was born into it. You've never had to fight for legitimacy the way some of us have. Gasps rippled through the audience. Production assistants froze at the edges of the set, unsure whether to step in or let the storm rage. I have worked my entire life for everything I've achieved, Reba hissed, teeth clenched. And I won't let you diminish that just because you're upset over some perceived slight from 15 years ago. Perceived slight. Jennifer's voice cracked with raw emotion. Reba, your words helped create an environment where I was forced to choose between staying in my lane or being labeled opportunistic. That's not perception. That's reality. Reba scanned the silent studio, then fixed Jennifer with a glare cold enough to cut glass. Maybe the problem wasn't what I said. Maybe the problem was that deep down you knew I was right. The words landed like a slap. Jennifer's face went still, her voice dropping to a whisper that carried more menace than any shout. Did you just say, I knew you were right? Reba hesitated, but pride wouldn't let her retreat. I'm saying, maybe instead of blaming me for your struggles, you should ask yourself why those struggles existed in the first place. Oh, I know exactly why, Jennifer said, rising slowly from her chair. Her emerald gown shimmered under the stage lights, transforming her into something regal, unyielding. They existed because people like you gatekeep genres like they own them, because talent apparently isn't enough unless you fit a certain mold. That's not what I meant, Reba began, but her voice wavered. No, that's exactly what you meant. Jennifer cut in, her tone growing stronger with each word. You want authenticity. Let's talk authenticity. I grew up on Patty, Loveless, Loretta Lynn, you, Reba McEntire. I learned to sing by studying your storytelling, your phrasing, your emotion. When I turned to country, it wasn't a gimmick. It was me going home to the music that raised me. The audience leaned forward, breathless. I spent months in Nashville. Jennifer pressed on. I wrote with hitmakers. I recorded with the very musicians who built the sound of this genre. I gave everything I had. And those songs were good. You know they were. Reba's shoulders stiffened. I never said they weren't. You didn't have to, Jennifer shot back. Your comments spoke for you. And when the Queen of Country questions whether crossover artists understand the heart of the music radio programmers, listen. Venue bookers, listen. Fans, listen. Doors that were opening for me suddenly slammed shut. Reba's face drained of color. For the first time, her voice trembled. Jennifer, I had no idea. That was never my intention. Your intention doesn't matter, Jennifer said, her voice sharp as glass. Impact matters. And the impact was this. A promising career strangled before it had the chance to grow because someone decided I wasn't country enough. The studio vibrated with tension. Some audience members were perched on the edge of their seats. Others sat frozen, hands over their mouths. Jennifer's tone shifted then, softened by something heavier, grief. But do you know what the real tragedy is? She paused, eyes shining. I believed you. I let your words seep in. I questioned myself. I wondered if maybe I really didn't belong. Do you know how damaging that is to an artist? For the first time all afternoon, Reba's composure cracked completely. I'm sorry, Jennifer, Reba said finally, her voice trembling. I'm truly sorry. I never meant for my words to hurt you that way. Jennifer's eyes narrowed, her voice cold as steel. Sorry doesn't give me back those years, Reba. Sorry doesn't undo the damage to my confidence or the opportunities that dried up. Sorry doesn't erase the nights I spent questioning whether I was fooling myself about my own talent. What do you want from me? Reba asked, her voice small, defeated. I want you to own it, Jennifer shot back, firm and unflinching. Stop hiding behind phrases like perceived slights and misunderstandings. Own the fact that your words have power and you use that power carelessly, irresponsibly. Reba's eyes darted around the studio. It was as if she suddenly remembered where she was, that cameras were rolling. That this wasn't some private confrontation, but a live broadcast reaching millions. I can't do this, she muttered, shaking her head. Not here. Not on national television. This isn't fair. Jennifer let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you torpedoed my country? Music aspirations in interview after interview. Was it fair when you questioned my authenticity without ever listening to my music or understanding my story? That's not what happened, Reba protested weakly. That's rich, Reba. Jennifer snapped. That's really rich. The tension was suffocating. Crew members stood frozen, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the confrontation unfold. I'm not running away, Reba insisted. But her actions betrayed her words, her body already moving, her steps pulling her toward the edge of the stage. This conversation has gotten out of hand. It's not what I agreed to when I came on your show. Life doesn't give us what we agree to, Jennifer replied, her voice low but cutting. Sometimes we have to face truths that make us uncomfortable. Sometimes we have to be held accountable, even years later. Reba's face darkened, her voice flaring with a sudden surge of anger. Accountable. Jennifer, I've been in this industry for 40 years. I've broken barriers. I've paved the way for countless women, including you. I've fought battles that made it easier for you to even dream of a career in country music. And you want to tear me down over a few old comments? I don't want to tear you down, Jennifer countered, her voice softening but steady. I want you to grow up and take responsibility. I want you to acknowledge that your words hurt me and that they probably hurt other artists too. I want you to use your platform more thoughtfully moving forward. By now, Reba was standing at the very edge of the stage, her body half turned toward the exit. The audience sat in total silence, the weight of history pressing down on the room. You know what, Jennifer? Reba said bitterly. Maybe you're right about one thing. Maybe I don't belong here after all. With that, she turned and started walking toward the exit. The audience gasped. The studio lights seemed to dim under the weight of what was happening. But Jennifer Hudson wasn't finished. Not after years of carrying this wound. Not after finally finding her voice. Oh no, Jennifer called out, her voice booming with the same power that had made her famous. You don't get to do that. You don't get to walk away and make yourself the victim. Reba froze, one hand brushing the curtain that would take her off stage. Turn around, Reba. Jennifer demanded, not shouting, but commanding. If you're going to walk out, at least have the courage to look me in the eye when you do it. 4. A long, breathless moment. The entire studio waited. Then, slowly, reluctantly, Reba turned back. Her face was flushed, her hair slightly disheveled, her frame smaller, diminished under the weight of the moment. You want to act like I'm being unfair? Jennifer said, stepping forward. You want to act like I'm dragging up ancient history just to embarrass you? Fine. Then, let's talk about fairness. Let's really talk about it. Reba's voice cracked, barely audible. I already apologized. What more do you want from me? I want honesty, Jennifer snapped. Real honesty, not a half-hearted apology you're only giving because you got caught on live television. Do you even remember what you said? About crossover artists, Reba? Do you remember the words? Silence. Reba's eyes dropped to the floor. I do, Jennifer continued, her voice trembling now with fury and pain. I remember every word. You said artists like me were treating country music like a costume we could put on and take off. You said true country comes from lived experience, not from calculated career moves. That's what you said about me. About my work, about my dream. The studio went deathly still. Even the air felt heavy, and for the first time, Reba McEntire looked like she had no defense left. You said the genre needed to be protected from people who saw it as just another way to sell records, Jennifer pressed, her voice sharp with memory. The audience sat frozen, transfixed. Phones were raised everywhere. Everyone knew they were capturing television history in real time. And when journalists asked you to clarify who you meant, Jennifer continued, you smiled that little knowing smile and said, real country. Fans would recognize authenticity when they heard it. Everyone knew you were talking about me, Reba. Everyone. Reba's lips parted, her voice thin when it finally came. I was trying to protect something I love. No. Jennifer's reply was instant, cutting her off. You were trying to protect your position. There's a difference. You saw younger artists, different artists, coming into your space and instead of mentoring us, instead of welcoming us, you built walls to keep us out. Reba took a step back toward the stage, pulled back into the clash against her will. That's not fair, Jennifer. I've supported plenty of young artists. Over the years, young artists who looked like you, Jennifer countered without missing a beat. Artists who fit the mold. But when someone like me who brought different influences, a different story stepped in, you questioned whether we belonged at all. I questioned whether you understood what country music was about. Reba snapped, her old fire flaring. Jennifer's eyes narrowed, her voice almost triumphant. And there it is. You didn't question my talent. You didn't question my dedication. You questioned whether I could understand country music, like understanding is decided by where you're from, or what you look like. The studio was electric, vibrating with tension. Crew members waved frantically at each other, torn between cutting to commercial and letting the moment burn into history. I grew up in Chicago, Jennifer said, her voice rising, fierce. But I grew up on country music. I learned heartbreak from Tammy Wynette, strength from Dolly Parton, storytelling from you, Reba. The music raised me just like it raised you. The only difference was geography. It's not just geography. Reba muttered weakly. Then what is it? Jennifer shot back. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like it was about keeping the club exclusive, about making sure certain people knew they weren't welcome, no matter how much they loved the music or how hard they worked. Reba stood silent, scanning the room, every face. Every eye trained on her. The weight of the moment pressed down. Finally, her shoulders sagged. Maybe you're right, she whispered. Jennifer blinked, caught off guard. What? Maybe. You're right, Reba repeated, louder now. Maybe I was protecting my position. Maybe I was scared. Scared of change. Scared of what might happen if country expanded beyond the lines I grew up with. The admission landed like a confession. In church, the crowd leaned forward as one, sensing history. But Jennifer, Reba continued, voice trembling but honest. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I thought I was preserving something that might be lost. I was wrong about the method. I was probably wrong about the threat. But the intent wasn't malicious. Jennifer's voice softened, though her edge remained. Intention doesn't erase impact. No, Reba admitted. It doesn't. And I'm sorry. Sorry for the way my words damaged your confidence. Sorry for making you question yourself when you were just trying to create something beautiful. That was wrong of me. The room was silent, the anger draining, replaced by something raw. This isn't just about me, Jennifer said finally. It's about every artist who's been told they don't belong, who's been made to feel their voice wasn't authentic enough. Your words have power, Reba. They still do. I know, Reba said softly. I should have known it then. For a moment, both women simply looked at each other across the stage, two icons. Two wounds laid bare. I think we've said everything that needs to be said, Reba murmured at last. She looked Jennifer dead in the eye. I hope someday. You can forgive me, but I'll understand if you can't. Jennifer nodded slowly. I'm working on it. Forgiveness isn't a moment. It's a process. Reba held that gaze a beat longer. Then she turned and walked off stage. For real this time. The curtain fell behind her. Jennifer stood alone in the hush of the studio. The audience caught between applause and shock. Finally, she faced the camera. We'll be right back, she said, her voice steady but her eyes shining. The screen cut to commercial.